What if I told you you could make $50 an hour working on Pinterest? If you are an avid Pinterest user and a lover of the platform like myself, that probably sounds pretty amazing. In this episode, I'm going to share with you how much you can and should be charging when you're getting started as a Pinterest manager. So before we dive into how you are going to charge these prices, where you're coming up with the pricing for your packages, and all of those things in between, I want to break down what a Pinterest manager is, because maybe this is a new term for you. And for some people that find my content or hear about my business, there honestly might be a little bit of skepticism if you've never heard of this specific career or role. Now, when you are working as a Pinterest manager, you are a contractor. So you are working as a service-based business, and you have a service that business owners need, and they are willing to pay you for that service. Now, the reason that a business owner would want to hire a Pinterest manager is because, one, they might not have time to market on the platform themselves. As a business owner, they have a lot of other things that they are tending to, overseeing other team members. They're really the visionary. So to be present in marketing on every single platform sometimes just isn't feasible. Or two, they might not know how to use Pinterest to drive traffic and income for their business, but they might be very well aware that their audience is active in using Pinterest, and so it actually might be a misstep for them to continue to sleep on Pinterest. And I like to share this, that Pinterest is one of those platforms that is so powerful because it is a search engine. And that means that when business owners are using the platform, their content that they've worked hard to create, it continues to live on for weeks, months, and even years. So that makes it very different and unique than social media. I often hear Pinterest categorized as social media, and it actually is not social media. To its core, it is a search engine. Now, there are some social aspects to it. You can comment on people's pins, you can even react to people's pins, but the behavior and how we use the platform is very different than social media. A lot of times people come to Pinterest with a problem and they're actively looking for a solution. So really, they're coming to the platform with a different mindset than those that are going to social media. So this is why it is such a great platform for business owners to utilize. And like I mentioned, sometimes business owners just don't know how to use Pinterest because since it's not social media, it does have a lot of differences, nuances, and because the search engine aspect, it really depends on using keywords. And sometimes business owners don't know what keywords they'd want to be ranking for their business, where to put those keywords, and essentially all those details. So that's where the Pinterest manager comes into play, where the business owner can hand off this platform to them and say, take this over for me. And ultimately, as the Pinterest manager, it's your job to understand if it makes sense for that business to be on Pinterest, if they have enough content and products and things like that to work with so that you can get them results. And once you have essentially a discovery call where you're talking through these details with them, then as the Pinterest manager, I send them a proposal if I think that I can help them. And that's how I start working with them essentially. So all that to say, that's what you do as a Pinterest manager. You are taking the Pinterest user, which that is probably what you are right now. You might love and use Pinterest daily, and you're not thinking about it most likely from this other side, really this business perspective side. So you're kind of flipping that role a little bit, going from the user to now the person who is using Pinterest to drive traffic and profit for a business. So back to how you're using it, you go to Pinterest with a problem. And when you search in keywords, you're probably typing in the problem you have, but we don't really think about it that way. Maybe our problem is as simple as tonight's dinner recipe or healthy dinner ideas. And when you type that in, the next step is you're seeing these pins come up. When you click on those pins and you are going to, most likely if you're searching dinner recipes, you're going to that food blogger's website, you leaving Pinterest and going to their website is where the magic happens for the business owner. So essentially, this is why a business owner would want to hire you as the Pinterest manager. You are getting people from Pinterest to their website. And once people are on that business owner's website, then it becomes the business owner's role to convert that traffic. Now, there's a lot of different ways that business owners can make money through Pinterest, and that really depends on their unique business model. Do they have paid ads on their website? Do they have products? Do they have affiliations they're sharing? There's a lot of different ways that business owner can use Pinterest to make money. But like I said, once that Pinterest user is on that website for the business owner, then it kind of becomes the business owner's job to convert that person. Now, when you are working together as a team, Pinterest manager and business owner, you discuss what their goals are, because this helps you create a strategy unique to that business owner so that you're not just getting people to their website, but you are making them money from the platform. So I'll talk more about this in a minute when I dive more into how much you're going to be charging for these services. But I've had clients who have made as little as $2,000 a month from Pinterest to as much as $16,000 to $20,000 just from organic traffic. Organic means they are not utilizing paid ads on Pinterest, but they are creating pins for their audience. The right audience is discovering those pins and they're getting them to their website. So like I said, depending on the business, the niche, there's a lot of variables there, and every business is unique in its own way. And as the Pinterest manager, that's your job to figure out, okay, how are we going to best utilize Pinterest to make them money? So that really comes into play with skills training. So that leads me to my next point. So point one, this is what you do as a Pinterest manager. This is why a business owner would hire you. Now, point two, how do you learn these skills? So before you can start charging somebody, we have to take this step by step. So before I get into how much you're actually going to be charging, let's talk about the skills training. There are definitely courses, programs out there where you can essentially go through those programs and receive the proper skills training necessary to offer this service. So you obviously wouldn't want to just start offering your services if you didn't know what you're doing, right? So that's why it's important to have training so that you understand how you can help people on Pinterest and get them results. So when you're thinking about that skills training, there is actually a little thing called the University of Google or the University of YouTube, where you can learn so much. We live in this time where we can get so much knowledge and information, but it can also be a little tricky because we're getting bits and pieces of the puzzle. And like this episode, you're learning something, but one thing that can be really challenging is trying to put all of those pieces together yourself. So if you are looking for a very clear roadmap that will take you from not knowing how to use Pinterest for business owners, not feeling confident in offering this service to people, to feeling like a true Pinterest expert, I do have my Pinterest Manager Academy, and I created that for the person that I was 6 years ago, the person who loved Pinterest, wanted to use it and offer this service, but really didn't know where to go to learn these skills. So since then, I have taken different memberships. I took one membership that was really about marketing organically on Pinterest. I took a very in-depth course on Pinterest ads. So I've taken bits and pieces. I've listened to podcasts. I've done the YouTube episodes. I've also learned a lot through hands-on experience. But from all of these different inputs myself, I wanted to create something that would make the whole journey so much faster so that it doesn't need to take 5 or 6 years to get to the point where I was making over $10,000 a month from the service, but it took me time. It took me 2 years to hit my first 5K month. It took me 3 years to hit my first 10K month, and it doesn't have to take you that long if you have this clear roadmap. So I do want to mention I have a free training that is a really great place to start, and that is, like I said, it's free. And then I also have a free Pinterest Manager Start Guide. So both of those will be linked in this episode. So now that, let's say you've received some type of skills training and you're ready to start offering your services, the next thing you need to do is think about, okay, how much do I charge for this service. And I will mention, I go through all of this inside my Pinterest Manager Academy. No stone is left unturned. But back to how much you typically would charge. So whether you are a Pinterest manager, a podcast manager, a virtual assistant, a social media manager, a copywriter, when you are getting started as a freelancer, you have a service that you're offering, so you're working as a service-based business, there is a typical starting point. It's very typical to charge anywhere from $25 to $35 an hour as a beginning freelancer. Now, I know that some people will say, or you could just hire somebody overseas for $6 or $8 an hour. Well, in the US, it's very typical and standard to charge $25 to $35 an hour. Obviously, we are a different country, and this is what is normal for freelancers in the US. So I am referring to people in the US, and I will say too that everybody needs work. And this is an amazing service no matter where you're located in the world. And I actually have students who are in Romania. I have students who are in the Philippines, and that's amazing, right? But I do want to say that if you are worried about competition, this is a side note, it's about shifting your mindset and telling yourself there's room at the table for everybody. Do you think that there's 5 people in the entire world that'll hire you for your services? Absolutely. Do you think there's 10 people in the entire world that need you and your services? Absolutely. Think about how many millions and millions and millions of online businesses there are. They all need to be on Pinterest. And guess what? They all need a Pinterest manager, most likely. So some businesses obviously have a Pinterest manager, but there's a lot of business owners that are still sleeping on Pinterest. So I just want to say, with this side note on mindset and there being room at the table, no matter what you're charging, that there are absolutely people who want and need your services. So now back to what you're charging. $25 to $35 is typically what my students are charging as a beginning Pinterest manager. Now, the thing that's really great about focusing on one specific service is that when you're only focusing on one platform, you can put so much more energy into it. It's much easier to stay up to date with best practices. As the algorithm changes, things change on Pinterest and evolve. And when you're focusing on this one platform, you truly are becoming an expert. And ultimately, it makes it easier to scale your prices when you're an expert at one thing. So I started as a virtual assistant. Then I pivoted to social media manager. Did not like that at all. After a year, I went to Pinterest. And like I said, I was kind of putting a lot of bits and pieces together, but I felt like it took me a lot more time because I was kind of, piecing things together instead of having this really clear roadmap. So I was charging, once I pivoted to Pinterest, closer to $30 to $35 an hour. But as I started to get more experience, what I did was I started to build case studies and actually show that I can get you results on the platform, and that obviously makes business owners a lot more confident in your services. So I charge by package, and it's a flat rate. So the other thing about charging a flat monthly package price, let's say it takes you maybe 15 to 20 hours a month, or maybe 20 to 25 hours a month to manage one client account in the beginning. I always tell my students, it would be unreasonable for you to be fast and good at this when you've never done it before. You have to give yourself grace. We all have to start somewhere. So as you get better though, it's gonna feel like a natural pay raise because what took you 20 hours now takes you 15. And so in the beginning, that was one way where I felt like I was almost increasing my prices because I simply got faster and better at the work. However, as you do get better, you can increase again. So instead of charging 30 to 35, maybe you're charging 35 to 40. And then you're gonna work your way up until you get to closer to that $50 an hour. So I would say the faster I got, I was spending anywhere from as few as 12 hours on one account a month to maybe as many as 15 hours. And when I really was at that point where I was ready to stop taking clients because I was just pivoting my business, I had people coming to me asking me to essentially do live trainings for their course groups. I was doing guest expert speaking. I did create a digital course, and now I have my Pinterest Manager Academy, and I'm doing a lot of coaching. So I'm helping students one-on-one, and it takes a lot of my time. So I actually still do work with clients, so I still practice what I preach. But when I was still actively taking clients, I was charging $997, so $997 a month for one client. When I did the math based off of how long that was taking me, I was making around $76 to $83 an hour. And some business owners might feel like, whoa, that is way too much for what you're offering. Or some freelancers might be like, whoa, that is way too much for what you're offering. But when you think about it this way, I might be charging $997 for monthly management. Like I shared, one of my clients, she was a teacher business owner. She was making, and I could see because it was in her conversion analytics in Pinterest, she was making over $16,000 some months from Pinterest. So me managing her Pinterest account. So think about that return on her investment. So, and also too, like I said, she wasn't paying me by hours, and some months there could be variables and things that change that do affect how much you're charging. And that's the beauty of it for business owners too. It's that if something took you a little bit longer than normal for whatever reason, they're still paying you that flat rate. But as the freelancer, I loved that because I was slow in the beginning and I didn't have to worry about telling the business owner, oh, this took me way longer than I thought it was gonna be. Or as I got faster, like I said, it was like a built-in pay raise. So back to charging and working your prices up. At that point, when I was charging $997 a month for a maintenance package, I had dozens and dozens of case studies, testimonials, reviews, proven results of growing my clients' traffic 50% month over month, sometimes 1,000%. I mean, really great results. And of course, it's not like that for every client. Some business owners have different challenges and nuances. So it's definitely not a perfect science, but there's best practices, and I was really confident in getting my clients results. And they were willing to pay me for that expertise. So when you are thinking about getting started as a Pinterest manager, you can absolutely work your way up with pricing. I find that when my students go through the formula I teach inside my academy, they end up charging anywhere from, on the lower side, $450 a month for one client to as much as $700 a month for one client as a beginner, okay? So like I said, when I was really more at that expert level, that's when I was charging $997. And honestly, there's people out there for sure who charged more than me. But at that point, I wasn't taking any more clients and I was kind of pivoting. I didn't increase my prices again. But when you're thinking about this, because eventually you will run out of hours in the day, you can start to offer more premium packages like VIP days. You could learn a more premium service like Pinterest ads. You could go the agency route where you keep having people come to you like I was, because I was getting business owners results and I was getting referrals and I had really built up this business and I was at a time you could hire subcontractors. So that's the beauty of it too. The sky is the limit when you have your own business. So I hope this gives you a better idea of what you can charge as a Pinterest manager just getting started. And I would love to invite you to either download my free guide if you're a PDF, want to read it person, or sign up for my next free live training if you want to see me, hear me, interact with me. And when I say they're live, I mean they're actually live. So you will be able to ask me questions. I hope you found this episode helpful. I would love to invite you to subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments what other questions you have about becoming a Pinterest manager and really starting your service-based business. And if you want to reach out to me. I would love to share more with you about my Pinterest Manager Academy. So I can't wait to see you soon in next week's episode. Bye for now, friends.